Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, they spin not. And yet I say unto you that Solomon in all day in the field and tomorrow is cast into the oven. How much more will he clothe you, O ye of little faith? And seek not ye what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, neither be ye of doubtful mind.
This is our kingdom, a kingdom of righteousness. Praise the Lord. Praise ye the Lord.
For all these things do the nations of the world seek after. And your Father knoweth that ye have needs, but rather seek ye the kingdom of God. All these, it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no approacheth, neither corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
The election, an aristocracy, meaning rule of the best, a group or class considered superior to others, governed by the best men in the state, a governing body composed of the best men in the state. And that's the elect. We're about to have it all right? Psalms 37 and verse 11, to delight themselves in the abundance of peace. That word for peace in the Hebrew is shalom, which goes into safety, soundness in body, meaning we're going to really have rest, welfare, health, prosperity, peace, quiet, tranquility, contentment. So we're going to fully enjoy the planet Earth. Or we will exist within the Lord's creation as we were created to do. I'm ready to rule the world, man. How about you?
Let the golden light of this sunset guide our hearts in peace.
How about you, real shot? Rakata Yahweh Shah. Rakata Yahweh. Rakata Yahweh. Rakata Yahweh Shah.
Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and alms your searcheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Rakakodash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word and truth and this sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Rakakodash. Pushing to get up out of there. Shalom to the hopeful the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai. All right, and what I want to get into, this morning, doing this morning news and privacy, E has to be stopped. This nigga has to be stopped, man. Because this devil, has so much going on. all right, trying to enforce, okay, and roll out this new world order, and we always say it, this is why the Lord, Yahushua, he made the point that no flesh should be saved. This devil was to continue on, even attempting to roll out this new world order, man. This man would destroy so much, and if he was able to get this thing up and running and established, okay, it would destroy everything, man, because he's bringing in so much destruction, all right, and so much chaos and havoc to try to roll this thing in. It's going to get away from him, man. And that's why Yahushua is going to intervene and cut and sake the time short. Okay, Yahushua is coming to disrupt, okay, Esau, Edom, the wicked, man. Okay, because this man is on a path, all right, he's so blinded by, pride and ambition, okay, that he will destroy everything, including himself. Okay, and he has, a lot, going on, man, just watching this devil. Okay, unless you know that he's in the spirit of desperation, he's weird in his counsel. Okay, and ultimately the Most High is causing this man, all right, and his system to implode on itself, man. His new world order agenda is going to implode on itself. Okay, matter of fact, let's just get that word implode real quick, and then we'll get a few precepts. Get this word implode. So when you go here to just a quick Google search for this word implode. All right, so you go into implode. It said to implode means to collapse or burst violently inward due to extreme external pressure. It is the exact opposite of an explosion which bursts outward. Okay, so we're seeing that everything that the devil is doing, amongst, the elites, all these schemes and plots, well, these things are going to implode. They're going to burst. They're going to collapse. Okay, his World War III agenda. Okay, his economic agenda. These things are going to collapse and just explode and get out of control. The Lord's going to allow this man to achieve, particular things. All right, is pertaining to prophecy, because he has to get to a certain point pertaining to prophecy. So we know that he has a little more progress to make in rolling this thing out. But eventually the Lord's going to cause this thing to implode, all right, and explode, man, with the nukes. Okay, these devils, they going to fall out, they always fall out. Okay, and eventually it's going to lead to what? America becoming a desert. Okay, this infrastructure, all this AI infrastructure, this digital infrastructure that this devil is setting up is going to be destroyed. Okay, and he's going to go into captivity, man. Okay, just to sum up how it ends for Esau. Now, let's go here. Let's go to the book of 2nd Esdras real quick. So when you go to 2nd Esdras 15, all right, that's why, thorough understanding of prophecy and belief in prophecy is crucial in these times, because that's why we was commanded. 2nd Esdras 15:1, behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord. So the Lord raised up his men, okay, in these last days, and filled his men with prophecy, man, to give our people warning, to give our people hope. Because not only within prophecy is a warning of the evil to come, but it's also a hope in the salvation. It's also a hope in the standard lifted. It's also hope, that we got provisions in the time of scarcity, man. The Lord gonna lift a standard. So prophecy is full of evil, lamentation, mourning, and woe, and also hope, okay, and salvation, hope, all right, and provisions, hope and mercy, okay, hope in the Lord's power. You see? So when we speak prophecy in the ears of our people, it's a warning about what the Lord is getting ready to do. And then it's also, all right, a faith booster, all right, about how the Lord is getting ready to have mercy on his people, on his remnant. So it's a warning and it's a message of hope at the same time. Okay, it says, and call them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Okay, and these are guarantees. These prophecies are guarantees. Okay, This ain't speculation. All right. This ain't, a thing of chance. No, this is a guarantee. Okay. And this is why we see everything happening that's aligning with prophecy, man. Okay. This is the Lord showing that he's faithful and true, and us looking at prophecy for being fulfilled real time should be a faith booster, man. Okay. So let's keep reading. When you jump down let's jump down to verse 3. It says, and fear not the imagination against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. Yeah, so the whole world, as the scriptures say, let everyone be alive but the most high true, man. What's that? Romans 3:3. If a brother want to post that. Okay. So just because people don't believe, that doesn't mean that what we're saying is not true. And we're saying what the scriptures say. These are the words of Yahweh Bashim al-Shah. With the word of a king, there is power. Okay. And we're seeing the power of these words, okay, play out real time. We're seeing that the earth is subjugated to the power of these words. Okay. The prophecy that the Lord said will happen in these latter days before the coming of Yahweh. Well, guess what? The earth is subjugated to their prophecy, man, showing you that the word of the Lord is power. Okay. He spoke these things, and now these things are beginning to be performed. Okay. It says, fear not the imagination against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness, man. And the Lord wanted, a portion of our people blinded. He wanted them to not have the ability to believe. Okay. He didn't give them the gift of faith, man. He wanted them to die in their unbelief, man. He wants them to feel that wrath. There's a generation of Israelites that's called the generation of wrath, man. You go to Jeremiah chapter 7. Okay. There's a generation of Israelites known as a generation of the Lord's wrath, man. And we in that time where their wrath is going to be felt. There's Israelites that's appointed to their wrath, man. And that's why we should be extremely grateful that the Lord brought us into this thing, man. We should be extremely grateful, man, that we're here and the Lord is giving us a chance at mercy, man. Lord we're not appointed to that wrath, man. Okay. Verse 4 says, behold, said the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. You see? This is where we at with it. This is what the Lord, all right, has building up. Okay. It's the sword. Okay. Civil unrest. From civil unrest all the way to the nukes, man. That's the sword of the Lord. Okay. Famine, starvation. Okay. Death, man. Plagues and pestilence. And all type of destruction. Which the ultimate destruction is going to be the nukes in Yahweh Shai. Okay. And this is the only thing left for this world. Okay. You got people, thinking that, AI 2040, you got people thinking that, they're going to be living like the Jetsons. And there's a lot of people that believe this AI hype. Okay. This technological utopia. It's a lot of people believe that hype. No, that's the exact opposite of what's coming to the world, man. Okay. That's the only thing left for this world, man. Esau only got so far to go, man. All these ideas and these movies and these videos and these promos that he show you where he's going to be at during this time and that time, and this what it's going to look like when look, the Lord finna destroy this place, man. The Lord finna judge this place, man. It's the only thing left for, all right, this society, man. The only thing left for America is to be turned to a desert, man. Okay? That's the only thing left for it. Only thing left for Esau Edom is for him to make his last few moves and be judged. Okay, it said, for wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and the hurtful works are fulfilled, man. So this double hurtful works, all right, are being fulfilled, man. And he's running to the end, because the faster, the more he speeds this thing up, the closer he just running himself to the end. Okay, he just running himself to fulfill his quota in wickedness, man. Okay. And this man is rapidly destroying the earth, rapidly destroying the people, rapidly, escalating war. Okay. So the Lord got this man speeding up his hurtful works, man, so he can be judged. You see, therefore said the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness. And that's why the Lord raised up the prophets, man, to tell Esau, because we're telling Esau how the Lord feels, man. You know, of course, hey, we hate what the Lord hates. We're against what the Lord against, man. Okay, but the source of the message that we have, okay, is from Yahweh by Shema Shah, man. You know, the prophets are the messengers of the Lord, man. You know, they're shaking the hand at Esau, man, telling this nigga about himself and telling this nigga what's getting ready to happen, man. All right, you Edomites, you goddamn fools, man. Okay, you Edomites, the most foolish nation on earth. He's crafty in wickedness, okay, but he's extremely foolish, man. You see, it says, which they profanely commit, neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood cry unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually, man. Okay, so there's even in the heavens, you know, those that have died in the faith, man, they're complaining to this nigga, man. Even in the time when there's going to be martyrs, you know, in the time to come. Okay, and they're going to the spirit world complaining. And it won't be long, man, when they get to the point to where believers are being martyred, okay, for the faith, man. It won't be long, man. You know, because that's going to be the same time during the MOTB. Okay, because Revelation is 20, you know, speak about that. 21 speak about those being beheaded for the testimony of Yahweh Shah, for refusing the image. I mean, the mark, you know, and to worship the image. You see, so around that time, man, the Lord's going to really speed this thing up to where he's going to come quickly, you know, and we're building up to that time. All right. So right now it's a build up, you know, with these pestilence. Okay. It's a build up, you know, with war. It's a build up with famine. It's a build up, okay, with Jacob's trouble. Everything is a build up. Okay. But when these things hit, you know, these things it's going to be a major ripple effect. And you're just going to have compounded, you know, events. Okay. That's going to fulfill prophecy, man. So let's go. Let's get this. So I got this video here. So now we know people have been complaining about these data centers. Okay. So now this nigga done took it to a whole nother level. You know, he's planning on taking it to a whole nother level with the data center, man. Okay, because this nigga not gonna stop. You know, people protesting, people showing up to the city council meetings. And, okay, that's not gonna stop this nigga from attempting this, because prophecy has it to where he has to, man. You know, he has to get to the point to where he can switch over to a new system. You know, and before that, he has to get certain infrastructure in place to do that, man. Okay, so these data centers play a major part of this new world order infrastructure, man. You know, and until the Lord intervene, this nigga gonna be full throttle with it, man. So let's play a little bit of this.
Buyer alert for new construction homes. In this video, I'm going to cover a worrying trend so that if you're looking at new construction later this year, next year, you're aware of this so that you can make an educated decision. We live in a time right now where many communities do not want data centers in them. The fears are taking all the water, increasing electrical costs, humming sound. Data centers in many cases raise alarms for environmental concerns and health concerns. That is what we're seeing. I was shocked recently when I saw the headline that Pulte Homes was partnering with SPAN. What Pulte Homes and SPAN are doing together is they're going to be putting mini data centers on the side of new construction homes. So that community of 100 houses now will have 100 mini data centers. That's right. And the theory from a technological aspect is these mini data centers will work together to act as a big data center that will increase capacity for AI. You're like, well, I love AI. Jen, this is great. I get my own AI. No. So you buy the house, you pay the mortgage, you pay the taxes, you pay the insurance, you own the land, you own the walls, you own the roof. But there's a box on the side of your house that you don't own, that you cannot legally remove. And if you remove it, if you take it off the house, there can be fines, penalties, and a lot of legal bills. That's right. It's corporate property and it has an easement to your home. Wait, you're telling me that a new construction builder is going to put all these boxes on our house that are mini data centers to act as one big data center? It doesn't even benefit me. And if I try to get it off my house because I don't like it, that I can have to pay money and get sued? Yeah, that is what I'm saying, guys. And
this is a totalitarian system. Okay, they're building up. Okay, this digital prison, all this infrastructure is for a digital prison. So now this nigga is talking about putting small data centers on the side of these new build houses. Okay, and then the whole community of these houses can act as one, data center, man. Okay, so this is the devil's plan to build out digital. This is part of the devil's plan to build out digital prisons, man. Okay, because these data centers are used, okay, for this computing power needed to surveil. Okay, AI main purpose is going to be surveillance. Okay, facial recognition. Okay, reporting. All right, AI is going to be the one reporting to the elites, sending flags and printing out reports. So this community is doing this community is doing that, due to the behavior and the patterns in this community. That's how this devil wants this system to run, a complete control, digital enslavement, man. Okay, so now you got contractors, saying these with these new bills. Okay, these elites got these contractors on board, all right, to install, many data centers on the new build houses, man. Okay, so let's play a little more.
That's why I wanted to do this video, is because I always think a year or two down the road and I go, okay, if someone was going to sell this to a consumer, how would they sell it? And here's what you need to know before I cover what the sales pitch likely will be. The company Span, the way they make their money is these boxes create the capacity, they sell the capacity to AI companies. So all those companies that need the data centers, they need that capacity, they will be buying it from Span and it will be generated from the side of your house. Well, don't I get a cut of that? No. You get the promise of reduced utility costs. It goes like this. This is how I see the sales pitch. Hey, yeah, they've got these boxes. We need more data centers. It just increases capacity. They don't have the fan. When people complain about the humming or noise, it's because of the fan. These are super advanced units where they just recirculate a coolant type fluid, and that's how they stay cool. So you don't have to worry about that fan noise. And oh, by the way, you're going to have reduced utility costs, and we're going to give you a free backup battery. And you're like, okay, cool. Like, I get lower utilities, I get a backup battery. Like, why is this not good? Well, how long do you get the reduced utility cost? How much is it actually reduced? How much will your homeowner's insurance be? Is your homeowner's insurance going to be more expensive because of this box on your house? The preliminary research I did said it would, because your average homeowner's insurance policy doesn't cover corporate infrastructure, which is what this is. The box on your home, it's not your box. You can't even move it. It's a company's infrastructure on your home.
Crazy work, man. So as people are complaining about these data centers, this nigga is just running, to something else, man. This nigga just going all out, man, and putting it on. And now they have, speculation. They're going to start putting it on side of these new bills, man. Man, the New World Order will be terrible, man. You know, it would be much better to go back to the spiritual realm than to deal with this nigga in this New World Order. Now, you have these, okay, new build houses with, you know, with the data centers. You know, they say they're gonna put the small data centers they're gonna put inside the houses, and then you go here. Okay, you got this here with the flock camera. Okay, now these different cities, you know, have been getting these contracts with these flock cameras, and these flock cameras nothing but a surveillance system. Okay, for the New World Order. Okay, along with, you know, people's Ring cameras and home security cameras, because they all can link. If you got any digital device, okay, that's linked to Wi-Fi, okay, and then if it's not on Wi-Fi, he can hook it up to his Wi-Fi. You know, so any digital device that's Wi-Fi compatible can be turned into, okay, a piece of hardware for this digital infrastructure, man. You know, so now you have this thing with flock cameras. See, now data centers, you know, are being called out, and now you have these flock security cameras being called out. Okay, so the devil has been quietly rolling this thing out, but now people are whistleblowing. You know, and it began with the spirit of the prophets, man. If a brother want to post that too, let's get that in Mark 4:22. Let's do Mark 4:22, and let's get that in Jeremiah 49:10, Bible Shah. But let's play this here. Well, let's get this precept here, then we'll play that. It's your brother Yashima, tribe of Judah. Romans 3:3 said, "For what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of the Most High without effect?" You know, so just because you don't believe in these prophecies, that doesn't mean that these prophecies are voided out. You see, people think just because they don't believe something that their disbelief voids out the prophecy, as if they don't have to worry about it because they don't believe. No, you don't believe, it's going to be worse for you. Okay? Prophecy is going to do you the worst because you don't believe. Okay? But your belief is not needed for prophecy to be fulfilled. Okay? It says, verse 4 says, yeah, the Most High forbid, let the Most High be true, but every man a liar, man. Okay? So no one on earth, all right, could everyone on earth could not believe in prophecy, man. And the Most High will bring prophecy to pass. Okay? But through the Lord's mercy, there's a remnant, though he's given the gift of faith, man, to what we believe, man. You know? And within that belief, man, there's going to be a deliverance. There's going to be mercy. Okay? For a remnant of Israel that believe, man, he preserved faith for a remnant of Israel to believe in these times, man. To believe in Yahushua, his son, the resurrection. To believe in their deliverance. Okay? To believe, okay, in these calamities. Okay? And the Lord's judgment that's going to come in these latter days. And we seen these devils building toward this. This the only thing that these devils are building towards, man. Okay, since Trump been in office, man, Trump hasn't dealt with any domestic affairs, man. All his policies have been centered around prophecy, man. Okay, Project Stargate, the AI infrastructure, New World Order infrastructure, Doge. Okay, they came and got the data, all right, and gave it to Palantir. You see, which Palantir is what the all-seeing eye. Okay, software for the New World Order. Okay. Then what he do is the devil, Trump, he waged a war. You know, they forced him to wage a war against Iran. So everything that Trump has been doing since he got in office, he has been doing nothing domestically at all, man. All his policies and his decision making, which we know there's an elite oligarch behind him pushing, okay, him to make these decisions, but he's the logo, okay, he's the mascot of the New World Order. He's the mascot, okay, of the agenda of the elites. Okay, and it's all being geared towards prophecy, man. Okay, it says, as it is written, that thou mayest be justified in thy sins and mightest overcome, all right, when thou art judged, man. You know, because there's a remnant that believe it's going to overcome, you know, when the Lord is judging the earth, man. Okay, let's get this. So let's play a little bit of this. All right, dealing with these flock cameras, man. This man is being called out. You know, this man is being called out at every turn. You see? So let's play.
One of these points and you didn't opt into any of them. Right now in Dayton, Ohio, there are AI-powered surveillance cameras on public streets that are covered in black bin bags because the city government, the actual elected officials responsible for public safety, cannot figure out whether they are allowed to take the cameras down, whether the cameras are even still recording, or how to get out of the contract they signed with the company that installed them. Their solution was to send the police department and the public works team out with bin liners, not as a temporary measure while they figured out the wrong, and I don't really want to investigate further. In Evanston, Illinois, the city terminated its contract with the same company. The company then reinstalled the cameras without permission. That is a level of persistence usually reserved for access and browser toolbars. The city had to send a cease and desist letter, and then, while they waited for the legal process to play out, they also cover the cameras in bin bags. Two different cities, same conclusion, bin bags. These cameras belong to a company called Flock Safety. There are over 90,000 of them across the United States. They scan 20 billion license plates every single month, which, for context, is more than the number of registered vehicles in the country, meaning some of you are being scanned multiple times a day, and the most exciting thing you did was maybe go to Costco. And a growing number of cities are slowly discovering that the surveillance infrastructure they invited in is far harder to get rid of than it was to install.
You travel a lot for work, but that doesn't mean you should be a part-time travel agent. This is Navon Edge, the personal assistant for frequent business.
My name is Elle. I have a PhD in computer science, and I analyze AI developments to understand what's actually happening beneath all of this hype. In this video, I'm going to explain what Flock Safety is and how it ended up in thousands of cities. Then I'm going to walk through 3 specific ways this system has already been misused. And after that, I want to talk about something broader, why anonymity in public space is essentially already gone, why most people don't realize it, including in this audience, and what that means for how quickly regulation needs to catch up. Spoiler, not quickly enough, but you probably guessed that from the bin bags. Flock Safety was founded back in 2017 in Atlanta. The origin story is very clear. The founder experienced a property crime. The police couldn't help because there was no evidence. So he built a solar-powered camera that reads license plates automatically and uploads the data to the cloud.
And you know there's some BS. All right, this is nothing but military technology. Okay, but they give you this story of this guy whose house was broken into, but he couldn't do nothing about it because there was no evidence. So he created this camera system, all right, this surveillance camera system called Flock Security. Okay, and the flock, because the word flock goes into what, a herd, you know, what they call a flock of sheep. Okay, so he called it Flock Security. You see, so they give you this BS story just like they do with, all right, Facebook, all right, Amazon, SpaceX, Tesla. They make it seem they give you these, you know, these origin stories. Okay, they give you these origin stories, you know, to make it seem as if this is private owned, you know, like it's somebody amongst the people that came up with this technology. No, okay, there's nothing but DARPA, all right, military technology, man. Okay, these flock cameras, these AI, all right, cameras are nothing but military, all right, yeah, technology, okay, that's being set up, okay, throughout these cities, you know, because it's Esau was transitioning to a surveillance state, man. Like I say, you go into this word flock, okay, because they look at people like what? Going, okay, it's cattle. So you go into the word flock, it says a flock. All right, it says a flock is a large group of animals like birds or sheep. Okay, gathered together. It can also refer to a crowd of people or church congregation. As a verb, it means to gather or move together. All right, and that's why they want to herd you people into these cities, smart cities with these data homes. You know, this is devil ambition. Have you in these smart cities, in these data home communities, okay, with these electric cars, okay, and a micro C-hip in your hand. Okay, complete control. Okay, so it's called flock security, man. All right, as you read it again, it says flock is a large group of animals, and they look at you people as cattle. Okay, gathered together. It can also refer to a crowd of people or church congregation. As a verb, it means to gather, okay, or move together in large numbers. Okay, so this BS story about this guy getting his house broken in, this random guy in Atlanta got his house broken in, and he just had to come up with some type of preventive measure. Okay, because they had security cameras way before flock security. Okay, so him coming up with security, they've been had security cameras. Okay, well, flock security is nothing but DARPA military intelligence, man. Okay, it's a part of this digital public infrastructure. So let's play some more.
Simple, definitely useful. The kind of technology that genuinely does help recover stolen vehicles, find missing persons, and track suspects in violent crime cases. Nobody serious, really, is arguing that the core technology has no value. Somebody gets their car stolen, the camera catches the plate, the police recover it, great. The problem is that nobody has ever raised $1 billion to just stop it, great. The pitch to cities was, of course, straightforward. For $2,500 a year per camera, Flock would install, maintain, and operate the hardware. The city got access to a software platform with real-time alerts and searchable footage. So no upfront capital expenditure, no specialist IT staff required. It was surveillance as a service. And for a small city with a limited budget, it looked like an extraordinary deal. And in the same way that the first month of any subscription is an extraordinary deal, the complications arrive later. And the venture capital market agreed. Flock has raised over $1 billion in total funding. Its backers include Anderson Horowitz, Founders Fund, Tiger Global, Kleiner Perkins, and Y Combinator. So the usual people who show up when something is either going to change the world or get investigated by Congress, often both. As of April 2026, the company was valued at $8.4 billion. Its annual recurring revenue crossed $300 million in 2025, representing 70% year-over-year growth. More than 5,000 law enforcement agencies and 4,800 police departments are connected to its network. That network is the critical architecture detail. Flock doesn't just sell cameras to individual cities, it connects them into a national system where any participating agency can search any other agency's camera data. A police department in Georgia can run a plate against cameras at a school in Texas. A sheriff's office in Indiana can search parking lot footage from a suburb in Illinois. No warrant needed, no subpoena, no notification to the city that owns the camera. No particular reason needed, frankly. The network effect is precisely what makes Flock attractive to investors. It is also precisely what should make everyone else nervous. And there is a historical parallel here that I think is worth sitting with for a second. In the early 2010s, Facebook data sharing defaults kept quietly expanding. Third-party apps could access not just your data, but your friends' data. The platform settings were technically configurable, but the defaults favored maximum sharing because maximum sharing was maximum growth. Most users had no idea how broadly their information was being distributed until Cambridge Analytica made it impossible to ignore. By then, the data was already out, which is the tech industry's version of "we've already eaten the cake, but we'd love your thoughts on the recipe, please." The architecture had been doing its work for years before anyone with the authority to stop it understood what was actually happening. Flock's national camera network operates on a structurally identical logic to this. The default is sharing, the value is in the network, and the people whose data flows through it have very little visibility into where it goes. If you've been following this channel, this pattern might feel familiar. I recently covered surveillance pricing in a separate video essay that I will link below. That's on the practice of using AI to charge different customers different prices based on their own personal data. That one was deployment of AI-powered monitoring going sideways. This is another case. The connecting thread between these stories is not the specific technology, it's the deployment itself. AI is powerful, and in many cases it is genuinely useful, but the incentive to deploy it in ways that expand surveillance keeps winning, because expanding surveillance is where the money is. And when the financial incentive and the surveillance capability point in the same direction, the question is not whether somebody will abuse it, the question is just how quickly. So, what went wrong? Well, 3 things, and each one reveals a different dimension of the same structural problem. The first is immigration enforcement. Flock's own website states clearly Flock does not work with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. The company does not partner with ICE. ICE does not have direct access to Flock camera systems or data. That is technically true. Flock did not hand data to ICE. What Flock built was a system where 4,800 police departments can search each other's cameras with functionally zero oversight, and some of those departments have agreements.
This game, you're not ready for it.
That turn local officers into immigration agents. There is
And the devil always has loopholes, man. This nigga always has a loophole. Okay, so you have all these Flock cameras, and once he integrated this law enforcement with Flock cameras, well, that just sets the stage, okay, for him to start enforcing law, okay, based on surveillance. Okay, because he's going to bring this new world order is going to have a completely new law enforcement, okay, entity. You see, you best believe Palantir has access to Flock, okay, which ICE agents use Palantir software, okay, but this is going to be the surveillance that's going to surveil and enforce law in the new world order, man. Okay, so he already has it working across law enforcement, man. So there's already a system to where the law is surveilling you. Okay, that's already in place. You see? So let's play a little more.
result documented by 404 Media, the University of Washington Center for Human Rights, and the 74 is that local law enforcement officers have been running Flock searches on behalf of ICE, so-called side door access. Over 4,000 lookups have been conducted at the behest of the federal government for immigration purposes. School cameras installed in over 100 public school systems are part of the searchable network. Dayton, Ohio, a phrase that should never appear in the same sentence as immigration enforcement, and yet here we are. Flock does not work with ICE, is doing a lot of work there. Flock built a highway. It is not responsible who drives on it. That distinction is, I suspect, more comforting to Flock's legal team than it is to the communities being surveilled.
And they created the highway, all right? You see, Flock created the highway for a surveillance state. Okay, so now they're saying, look, they don't control, who uses the cameras. You see, now this is their thing. Look, we just set the cameras up. We do contracts. We put them in place. We set up the software. We maintain it. Who uses it? We don't have control over it. We just set up the software. We're the engineers and tech guys. Okay, we're not the ruling authority over who uses it. Okay, and that's what these devils do. It start off as one thing, and then they always move the goalposts, man, to get to the agenda that they originally wanted anyway, which is a complete surveillance state, man. Okay, they're rolling this out now. Okay, it's here, and it just has to get to the point to where he feels that he can switch this thing over. Okay. And you have to get down and lay down.
The second failure is the Dunwoody incident. Dunwoody is a suburb of Atlanta where Flock operates a comprehensive surveillance system, including a real-time crime center powered by Flock Safety. A local resident named Jason Hunyar filed a public records request and obtained the access logs. What he found was that Flock employees had been logging into Dunwoody's camera system to run live sales demonstrations for police departments in other cities. The cameras they chose to demo included feeds inside the Marcus Jewish Community Center of Atlanta, specifically cameras pointed at the children's gymnastics room, the pool, and the playground. A Flock vice president accessed the gymnastics camera. Another employee accessed cameras labeled Gym Mandel 1 and Main Pool Right. Flock's website states that nobody from Flock Safety is accessing or monitoring your footage. The CEO personally apologized to the community center and promised radical transparency. That is a bit like a locksmith who got caught letting himself into your house, promising to be more transparent about his key collection. Residents packed city council meetings for nearly 3 hours of public protest. The city renewed the contract anyway, so 3 hours of public fury, followed by the council presumably just shrugging and basically saying, but the price was really good. The third failure is in the contract trap itself. In February 2026, Flock rewrote its terms and conditions. The new terms granted the company a perpetual, irrevocable license to use and disclose all customer data. The previous version had explicitly stated the following: Flock does not own and shall not sell customer data. That promise was deleted, redundant, in the same way that removing the locks from your front door could be called redundant if you already trust everyone on your street. As one resident who read the full contract noted, no replacement language exists anywhere. And meanwhile, Flock's marketing website still promises that your neighborhood owns 100% of the data, and Flock Safety will never share, sell, or access your data, which means either the marketing team and the legal team are not speaking, or they are, and this is just the result. Cities that want out are discovering that leaving is not exactly simple. Contract terms are unclear on whether cities can unilaterally deactivate the cameras. In Evanston, the city terminated its contract and Flock reinstalled the cameras without the city's permission, leading to a cease and desist. In Eugene, Oregon, the city terminated its contract and requested Flock remove the cameras by December 12th. Flock told them it would not begin removal until January 26th. The city sent its own staff out to physically take the cameras down. The city literally sent council workers out with ladders. This is literally what happens when your surveillance vendor goes through breakup texts. More than 40 cities have now suspended or terminated Flock contracts, including Mountain View, Cambridge, Santa Cruz, and Boston. Many more are debating it. And through all of this, the ICE side door access, the children's gymnastics footage, the contract rewrites, the reinstated cameras, the 40 cities pulling out, Flock's valuation went from $3.5 billion to $8.4 billion.
Because they're backed by the elites. You know, so you have people now, you know, you have cities removing Flock cameras and Flock coming back and just setting them back up, man. And the reason they're so bold because they know they got the elites behind it. All right, this is the elites doing. Okay, this is an entity of the elites. Okay, that's why they keep getting all these investments and this unlimited money. Okay, because it's the elites behind this, man. But what you're seeing is a backlash, man. People now are against these cities are now, you know, against these Flock cameras, man, because they're seeing that they're being accessed, you know, for complete surveillance, man. You know, long as and Flock is saying that they don't work with Palantir, man. Palantir has all unlimited access to these Flock cameras, man. Okay, there's a central command that has all access to these Flock cameras. You better believe it. Okay, and they're able to pull up footage and data and collect data and watch and observe everything, man. You know that these cameras are giving them access to. You see, so now these cities are like, look, they're rejecting the data centers. They're starting to reject the Flock camera system, Flock safety camera systems. Okay, the workplace is bucking up against the AI. Okay, so this devil, he's gonna have to come with major crisis, man, you know, to herd people into this new system. You know, he's going to have to orchestrate a lot of fear, okay, and terror, okay, to get people to herd into this new system, man, okay. So let's go here, which the brother got the precept. And I got this is Jeremiah 49:10. This is brother service of Yahushua. He said, but I have made Esau bare. You see, Esau is becoming bare. That's why we always say he had but a short time, because the longer he pity pats, all right, the more people are beginning to buck up against this system, man. You know, that's why it's going to be the worst in America, because he has to create the most chaos and damage and terror in America and fear in America, man, because America don't want to put on the outfit. You see, American society don't want to put this outfit on. You got the simple, all right, them Anton Daniel type niggas that can't wait for the newest, you know, Tesla truck and the newest technology. You got simple people like that, okay? But then you have a community of people, okay, that's beginning to kick back against this thing, man. All right, they don't want to put the New World Order outfit on, man. Okay, so the devil really is going to have to come with the pain in America, man. It's going to be crisis after crisis after crisis, okay, to really put people in fear, okay, on a whole nother level, man. You see, because this man is becoming bare. And it says, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren, and his neighbor, and he is not. Okay? So, what we're seeing right before this devil is spoiled, you know, because Yahushua is going to come, you know, and destroy, you know, everything that the devil is trying to build up. You know, Yahushua is coming to destroy it. You see? And he's going into captivity, you know, but before he's put into captivity, the Most High is exposing this man for what he really is, man. Okay? See, Esau was the problem. All right? He's the problem of the earth, man. You see, and it's to the point, it ain't no getting around it, man. You see, and Yahushua is coming to deal with that problem. So I got another video segue, okay, with this devil, man. All right. Yep. That's what we've been saying. Yashima tribe of Judah, Job 20:22. It says, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. You know, in this man's fullness of his sufficiency, okay, the closer he gets to pulling this thing off, okay, he's finding himself in straits and difficulties, man. You know, he's dealing with the uproars, because the wicked goes into the word, Hebrew word amal, which goes into the labor, okay, the working class. Okay, so his subjects are beginning, you know, to directly oppose, okay, this new world order. You see? So this man is having a difficult time, you know, rolling this thing out. You know, it's not happening as smoothly as he would like it. Okay? Which is going to cause him what? Frustration. So what, he just going to have to wild out with it, man. You know, he's just going to wild out, catch some bodies. And that's what the Lord wants, because the Lord wants judgment and terror to go forth in the earth, especially here in America. Okay? He wants America to be the horror house. You know? So the Lord is causing Esau to be frustrated so he can be in the spirit that he needs to be in, the madman sparing none. You see, these devils going to get tired of trying to sneak and slither. He's just going to have to come out with it. He's just going to have to wild out. You know, he's going to have to catch some bodies. You know, the Lord is putting Esau in a position where Esau going to have to wild out and catch bodies for this new world order, man. Okay? Because he's beginning to go backwards. You see? And it says, let's give, got another video. Still, so then you segue to here. And you got this happening, man. You know, and then if a brother could post in 2 Peter chapter 3, verses 10 through 12, Bob Gashah. Okay. So remember, you have, You know, you're gonna have pestilence. You know, if a brother could post that too, Jeremiah 28:8, Baba Shah. All right, so you got this going on as well. You see, because she'll speak about these pestilence. You know, so all these things are happening at the same time. As this devil is rolling out, you know, his new world order infrastructure, you still have pestilence, teeth of wild beasts, you know, that's going to be unleashed, man. You're going to have the famines. You're going to have, you know, civil unrest, you know, civil war, you know, race riots, and all. You're going to have all type of things going on, man. You know, and this is just part of Egypt being played as before. Okay? Let's play this.
Alpha-gal syndrome was something that was once extremely rare in this country. That is a fact, but it is becoming more and more common as more people develop an allergy to red meat after getting bitten by a Lone Star tick. Several years, cases of alpha-gal syndrome have skyrocketed by almost 10,000%. And now, headline,
they skyrocketed by 10,000%. Okay, there's alpha-gal syndrome by 10,000%, man.
Illness suddenly be impacting so many people, not just people living in rural America, but in suburban America as well. And then we heard from Dr. Matthew Lau at the World Science Festival 10 years ago.
People eat too much meat, it would actually really help the planet. There's this thing called the Lone Star tick, where if it bites you, you'll become allergic to meat. I can sort of describe the mechanism. So that's something that we can do through human engineering. We can kind of possibly address really big world problems through human engineering.
Oh, okay. And then you start to connect the dots even more, and you find out that Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation spent millions of dollars funding genetically engineered ticks, and that Bill Gates is also a major investor in lab-grown meat. And now we've got almost 500,000 Americans living with a rare tick-borne illness that makes people allergic to meat, but not the lab-grown meat that Bill Gates has invested again. You think maybe this is not a coincidence after all?
The question is, my friends, is the spread of ticks across the country that we are seeing intentional, manufactured, or just coincidence? What I will say is, it is very difficult sometimes. You have a guy associated with the World Economic Forum saying we should induce allergies into humans so they can no longer eat red meat. You then have a massive explosion in this particular tick population that makes people allergic to red meat. And at the same time, you have investment into lab-grown meats. And it's possible to engineer that lab-grown meat to have no alpha-gal molecule, meaning if you become allergic to red meat, you'll always be able to buy their lab-grown alternatives. Now, I will say this. I don't know if there's any kind of real conspiracy.
And this is how the devil sabotages, okay, the creation of the Most High. It makes it seem as if he's doing the world a favor by coming with a meat that you're, by creating a meat, a lab-grown meat that you're not allergic to. Here it is, he gets you allergic to normal meat, you know, to red meat, but then he comes up with a meat that you're not allergic to, and that's him trying to say that he has a one-up on the Most High. Like the Most High creation is flawed, and he's fixing the flaws in the creation of the Most High, man. This is how this devil is operating, man. This is the mindset of the devil, man. Okay, this man really thinks, okay, that he can enhance the creation of the Most High. Okay, he really thinks that he has some type of wisdom that gives him the one up on the Most High, and if he can come and critique the flaws of the Most High, man. Okay, that's the mind of a devil. You see? So let's play this a little more.
I mean, certainly these people's interests are aligned in this direction. The production of lab-grown meat and the questions over whether we eat too much are born from the same reality. These Malthusian climate change, whatever you want to call it, individuals, Malthusian, of course, meaning they think there's too many people. are both at the same time advocating we stop eating meat and trying to develop alternatives to, raising cattle. So I don't want to say that it's a connection that Lone Star is propagating and lab-grown meat is being developed. That guy, I believe his name is Dr. Matthew Lau, says, hey, look, what if people were allergic to meat? You couldn't eat it. In the minds of these individuals, they say, stop eating meat. He goes in this direction, and it's possible that Bill Gates or other people go in the lab-grown meat direction. Let me see. Let me figure out. How much did Bill Gates is a major investor in lab-grown cultivated meat industry? Yes, but how much? How much invested? That's what I'm wondering. Let's see. And Richard Branson are betting big. Bill Gates invested a $17 million in a Series A for Memphis Meats in 2017.
Disease control and prevention show emergency room visits for tick bites are higher than normal here in the Midwest. Ticks obviously very dangerous. They can spread viruses like Lyme disease.
Your Memorial Day weekend may include some outdoor plans and even travel up north. And one thing you'll need to watch out for are ticks. The CDC is reporting a record number of ER visits for tick bites, and the season is on track to be one of the worst.
Well, a newer kind of tick-borne illness that presents as a sudden allergy to eating meat is starting to become more common on Long Island.
All right, Fox 5's Jody Goldberg breaks down what to know about alpha-gal syndrome and why we're seeing more cases.
Long Island's a hotbed for ticks, and more recently we're hearing about alpha-gal syndrome. It presents itself as a meat allergy, and it happens after a person is bitten by a Lone Star tick. I'm with one of those people, Holly Raycroft. She says she's an avid camper. When did you know that this wasn't your typical tick bite?
I had been bitten by a tick about 2 months prior, and we had a big pot roast dinner. That evening, I started with hives. It developed into breathing difficulties, and we ended up at the hospital.
Holly's allergist, Dr. Erin McGinty, has treated more than 1,000 patients with alpha-gal syndrome.
When was your first case?
So I made my first diagnosis of alpha-gal syndrome at some point in 2011. Alpha-gal is a carbohydrate that's found in all non-primate mammals. It's also found in the saliva and GI tract of Lone Star ticks. So if a person gets bitten by one of these ticks, and if they're in that subset of the population that makes this immune response, the Lone Star tick bite is going to induce their immune system to start making this allergy antibody.
We reached out to the New York State Department of Health, and we're told they track several.
And this is what this man does in his rulership. This is the shit that he come up with. Okay, a big ass child in power, man. Okay, this man bioengineers the ticks. Okay, and release them to the masses. All right, and makes people allergic. All right, to red meat. You know, this is what this nigga be on in his rulership, man. What's that, Proverbs 4 and 16? If a brother want to post that, you know. But this is what this devil is on within his rulership. Trillions of dollars. Okay, he rules the earth. Okay, he has all the resources. He has all this this access. Okay. And this is what he's on in the lab, trying to figure out how to destroy people. Okay, the CDC, you know, it's just a big, you know, museum of diseases that he collects, you know, and he can let go at his will. You see, this is what the scriptures say: "Woe to the old land when thy king is a child, when thy prince eat in the morning." Okay, let's go here. And these are the things that the Lord has us to prophesy about. Jeremiah 28:8, the brother servants for Yahushua 144. It said, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence, man. You know, so the Lord raised up the prophets in these last days right before war, evil, and pestilence will happen again. You see, and this time it's going to be on the largest scale that the earth has ever seen. You know, the scriptures speak about the worst time ever. So all these different things happening at one time, man, it's always something new that the devil is throwing into the pot because he needs distraction, he needs fear, he needs panic, he needs confusion. You know, but that's when the devil, that's when he's most effective, when people are panicking, fearful, confused, distracted. That's when he's most effective, man. Okay? So let's play some more of this. And I say, brother can post that Proverbs chapter 4 and 16, Bible Shah.
Several tick-borne diseases, but not alpha-gal syndrome. It's not mandatory, and officials say just because a person tests positive doesn't mean they have the allergy.
A positive test is not the same thing as having alpha-gal syndrome, but it does suggest that there is potential risk in that patient.
What's something that you go through living with alpha-gal that people may not even think of?
How many items are actually processed or made with beef?
Does it ever go away?
If you can go long enough without getting bites, it will gradually go down.
And to avoid tick bites, doctors say use bug spray with DEET and check yourself immediately after being outside.
I spoke with a couple of Tampa Bay area doctors today, and they say that they are seeing tick bites come into their hospitals right there in their ER. And so tonight they shared some tips on what you need to do to keep yourself safe. Wherever there's grass, bushes, and leaves, there may be ticks. Dr. Yoon.
For the Tampa Bay area, honestly, almost every home. Not to be alarmist, but saying it's common. So just knowing that even in a yard, you can have that in your own backyards.
As the chief epidemiologist at Tampa General Hospital, he says they have been treating people for tick bites. The CDC reports a record number of visits to the emergency room for tick bites in April, the highest since 2017.
If someone's taken a picture of the tick, we can sometimes identify what kind of tick it is. And some carry human illnesses, some don't.
As school lets out for the summer and people gear up for holiday weekend, tick season is upon us. Some ticks spread diseases like alpha-gal syndrome, where you develop a red meat allergy, ehrlichiosis, and Lyme disease.
Typically, Lyme disease will start with a red bump where that tick was, and that red bump will start to expand and get bigger.
Dr. Evelyn Huang with Orlando Health Bayfront in St. Pete says they are common, and there are steps to remember while outside.
And ticks can be very small and hard to spot, and especially checking your scalp or areas that are covered in hair, just because sometimes they can hide in there and you don't know that they're there.
She says you want to use tweezers to remove one as soon as you spot it, and watch for any symptoms like a fever or rash. Prevention is simple. Wear protective clothes like long sleeves and pants, and take a bath as soon as you get home.
What I would do with my own.
Yeah, man. So this devil just has, madness all over the place, man. And this is the people whom a lot of people are getting ready to trust this man to merge technology into them. And the nigga that's behind all the wickedness, of the planet Earth. This is whom people are finna trust, all right, to put technology inside them, man. Okay, this is the book of Proverbs 4 and 16, the brother servants of Yahushua. It says, Proverbs 4 and 16, for they sleep not except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall, So this devil is always thinking of new mischief, man. Especially when it comes to his New World Order agenda, man, because all this mischief that he's doing, is geared towards this New World Order agenda, because he wants to depopulate. Okay, he wants to destroy people's ability to feed themselves, grow their own food. Okay, he wants to destroy, people's ability, their immune system, people's ability to cure themselves, to heal themselves. He wants to destroy all that, man. He wants a new world order where you're a digital slave, completely dependent on him and everything. His science and his technology for everything, man. Okay? But that's why you go here. Let's get this, man. You see, and this is what I hope is that when you go to the book of 2 Peter. All right, this is the book of 2 Peter, chapter 3, verse 10. It said, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Okay, and the works, as scripture say, it says, and the works that are therein shall be burnt up. Okay, so Yahushua is creeping on this place like a thief in the night, man. While Esau is doing what he's doing. The stage is being set for Yahweh Shah to swiftly return and make a speedy riddance of this man. Okay, a speedy riddance of his wickedness, put a stop to his empire, stop to all this technocracy and technology. Do I say all the works, man? All this technology got to go, man. Everything that this man created in this society is going to be destroyed, man. You know, the Lord's going to do away with everything that this man has established, man. His philosophies, his infrastructure, okay, his technology. You see, all these things are going to be destroyed. His militaries, man. Okay, with his weaponry, all these things are going to be destroyed, man. You know, in the second coming of Yahweh Shah. You know, and that's the only thing left. That's the only thing that makes sense, okay, is what's prescribed in the Bible. And that's complete destruction of this kingdom, man. Removing Esau from any type of authority. Okay, it says, seeing that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought you to be in holy conversation and godliness, man? You know, and it should be easy for us, you know, to look beyond this current world. We should want no part of this, man. Look what this world is coming to, man. Look at what this man is on. Okay. Look at the agenda of Esau. Okay. And we should want no part of it, man. We should have our hope in Yahweh Shah intervening, man. You know, delivering his elect and putting an end to everything that Esau was has established and trying to establish, man. You know, our mind should be on the righteous kingdom promise in the scriptures, you know, and we should be working towards that. You know, we should be tapped into that, because this world is just set for judgment, man. You know, it's only a matter of time for the Lord is going to send back Yahweh Shah. You know, it says looking for and hastening, you know, and hastening until the coming of the day of the Most High, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved and the elements shall melt with fervent heat, man. You know, that's the climax to this third world's war, the nuclear destruction plus the return of the chariots, man. Return of Yahweh Shah and their heavenly host, man. You know, so this is where we at, man. I said Esau Edom got, you know, so much going on. All right, the pressure is really on him, you know, to accelerate his new world order, you know, and we get to a certain point, the Lord's going to send Yahweh Shah to intervene. You know, he seen what the scripture say, he seen Satan fall from heaven like lightning, man. Seen Esau fall from his power like lightning, man. Okay, so you know that's the point. You know, Lord will, you brothers. All right, and you few sisters edified once again. We're gonna give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem Kakodash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards young brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations, hopefully. Shalom.